Welcome to episode 145 of Nobody Special.
In this episode, we talk about the spiritual side of Christmas and dragons.
The Gospel Outpost presents Nobody Special. Hey everybody, welcome to Nobody Special, two nobodies talking about the somebody who matters. I'm Danny, the host and false Santa of Nobody Special.
And I'm Caleb, you're the host of Nobody Special. This is a podcast where two generations of people are looking to find God in pop culture, politics, and everything in between, all not taking any of it too seriously.
Is that a frog? That's my co-host today?
Yeah.
Hi Caleb, good morning.
Good morning. We're recording in the morning
Yeah,
this time.
Sorry, I forgot. When is this?
Typically
it's
we record
Day.
at night. Yeah,
it's Christmas Day. Uh-oh. Do I hear sleigh bells?
Ching, 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 ching,
No, because it's Christmas Day and he would have come last night.
Yeah. Come on, get your facts straight.
Right. Also, the odds of anyone listening to this on Christmas Day, you should be spending time with your family.
Yeah, there's better things to do.
There really
Let's be
are.
honest here.
Even not on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
No, well, thanks everyone for joining. It's our Christmas special.
Yeah.
We did it.
Sure. Christmas special.
Yeah. Because it comes out on Christmas.
Let's be honest. This is just a Christmas episode.
Because
it comes out on Christmas.
Well, I, for one, am going to maintain
Is there
my
anything
Christmas
special
cheer.
about this episode? No.
Okay, fair enough. But there are a few things special that are happening that I'm excited about. So on Christmas Day, which is the day this is, Wonder Woman just comes out on streaming services.
Yeah.
And I want to jump in. I don't know if we've actually talked about this, how excited I am for this, but
I think we might have briefly touched on it in a past episode. But
yeah, so there's like,
it's crazy.
yeah, just straight to streaming, but
Do you
also
have
in the
HBO?
theaters. I caved, yes,
What?
for this reason.
Why didn't you just ask for mine? I have one.
Well, so I can also give my parents access because I got it through Hulu.
You can give my parents your parents
Yeah.
access.
Well, because it's through Hulu. I don't know. It's a whole thing. And I got a deal, so we're going for the deal. But no, yeah, I'll be watching Wonder Woman 1984, which I personally think is the best year ever. So many great things came out in 1984.
Oh, is that your birth
Me.
year? Oh gosh, that's it. That's a gross joke. Gross joke. Because you're just lying. You're just lying.
I think that is the only thing that like actually came out in 1984, other than some really terrible things. Well, she was around.
Yeah, she was around.
She's timeless.
But
I actually think that'll be a really exciting movie. The only thing I'm concerned about in that movie, I'll be honest, Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Playing the bad guy, who is also part Cheetah.
Can I be honest with you?
Yes. No, please don't lie to me. Please.
I am not excited for this movie.
Really? Why?
I don't know why.
Great.
But I mean, I think I'll enjoy it, but I just don't care. That's kind of how I feel about a lot of the
Wonder
DC
Woman's
stuff.
the good one.
She is, yeah. The first
this
one
is
was
the good one. It was fantastic. That was a great movie.
But I don't know why. I'm just kind of Wonder Woman out. You know,
Wonder Woman out. She's been in virtually nothing.
She's been in
a movie
one,
in Justice League.
2, 3 movies.
Which is not a lot considering
Has she
the
been
genre.
3? I don't know.
Yeah,
I am excited about the Zack Snyder Cut, though.
Oh, yeah. When does that come out?
I don't know.
That's like a different
I haven't
movie.
even watched the first one.
I'm so confused as to whether Justice is like this isn't canon, right? Like it's a different movie.
It is interesting. That's what's crazy about this is that like you have the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's going to be this one, like, I think we'll know once we watch it if it's just more added on or if it's, like, completely different timeline.
There are massive changes.
Yeah, because he reshot a bunch of stuff. So I'm like, yeah, like, that's got to be interesting. I don't know if it was
fanfic as possible.
Reshoot or if it was, like, shooting additional content. Like, they didn't, I don't know if they clarified on that. Maybe they did.
Well, the movie, it was over 2 hours, but this is like over 4 hours long.
What?
Yeah.
I'm not excited about that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he's breaking it up into, essentially episodes. There are 4-hour episodes. I think so. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. So yeah, no, it's a different. It's DC fanfic. It's
so it's a show.
It would have to be, because if you told me I'm going to the theater,
I'm so confused,
and the movie's 4 hours long, I'd be like, nah, bump that.
No one's allowed to do that except Peter Jackson. All right,
and even that, King Kong was a bit excessive. Over 3 hours, that was excessive.
Was it over 3 hours?
Yes, it was over 3 hours. King Kong was like 3 hours and like 10 minutes or something.
That's great.
Yeah, man.
Lord of the Rings. Got it.
Was all of them? There were just under 3. It was like 2.5, 2 and 2 3/4 kind of a thing.
Now there's a Lord of the Rings TV show being made.
Right.
And freaking heck, I want to get on the set of that somehow.
Where and who's making it?
I think it's Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it's Amazon Prime, but
I don't think Peter Jackson's involved, and if he is, he's not heavily involved.
Right.
But they put out a whole cast list.
Oh, really? Anyone good?
And also, I don't know what they mean by Lord of the Rings. In the sense that, like what is this TV show? I guess it's gonna take place, if it's a part of the cinematic timeline, which I hope it's not. I'm fine with this just being its own thing.
No, I thought it was a reboot.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
it's just a reboot completely?
Yeah, I didn't think it was a parallel story.
Okay.
That would be the worst.
I don't
That would be
want
so
that.
bad. Yeah.
That makes me less excited for this.
Really? Why?
I thought that it was not a part of it, but they were going to be outside of the timeline. It was before Bilbo or something like that.
That's called The Hobbit. Well, I guess
even though
that's
we
called
know
the Silmarillion.
That's what's confused, right?
Yeah.
Confusing is because we know the timeline of the ring. It goes through there's no extra.
Right.
If it's titled The Lord of the Rings TV show, it has to be a part of it.
Right.
Or maybe it's talking about the rings that were given to the different races, or
I don't know how they're gonna do that. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I guess maybe it's just a reboot. That's kind of boring, though.
Maybe. Well, they can tell all the other stuff that the book skipped, as in the problematic character
Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil.
That's just 3 episodes of the TV show.
Yeah. and two of them are just all them staring at Tom, going "But what are you, Tom?
Okay, who is this guy?
What
Ian
are
Backham?
you? Oh, I don't know. He's in the show. His official title at this point is actor.
Okay.
So they haven't put that out yet. But the
That's
cast is
interesting. I'll have to do
out,
more research, because I didn't know that they were just remaking it.
No, that would be such a pain if they were
having some other. I thought it was gonna be something like The Mandalorian, where it's in that universe.
Mm-hmm. Maybe,
but it's
actually,
just
I don't know.
Not. That'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope it's not. It would be interesting, but I hope it's not a remake in a TV show format. I really don't want that.
I thought that's what. I honestly have no idea. But
do you think that would be cool?
I don't know. We've talked about this in previous episodes. Stop remaking stuff. Tell new stories.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get to the point of even Star Wars out a bit. It's
yeah.
We
all
know
the
what
new shows now.
Yeah, it's we know what happens. We have the movie 50 years after all these things happened. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it'll be fine. We'll see.
Yeah.
But it could be good. I don't know. It's just a different kind of a format of going through the story, and the movies did come out in 2001, 2002, 2003. They were fantastic.
Right.
They still hold up, because there's actually a fair amount of it is practical effects. They didn't have a ton. Yeah, a good amount of it was practical effects instead of green screen and all that.
Oh, you're talking about environment.
Yeah. So it doesn't appear. Go back to old things that have computer graphics, and it's oh yeah, no, that was a new program you guys found. Doesn't the spaceship?
I mean, there was
look
a good
real?
amount.
No,
that
not
was,
anymore.
That was CG.
Right.
That's just because Weta, which was the people, they were groundbreaking, on the edge of the technology. which is crazy.
But they also, I mean, they rented a mountain and kind of strung a cam all the way down the mountain to a massive battle. I mean, they made these massive, actual kind of the sets in order to do these instead of
It is so amazing.
Yeah.
Freaking Lord of the Rings.
Well,
it is the best. I just combined them all in one movie in my mind.
Absolutely.
The best movie of all time.
Yeah.
Like, you can't convince me otherwise. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Because you're wrong. But you're entitled to your opinion.
But
just know that your opinion is wrong.
Yes. Well, either way, I'm excited about Wonder Woman coming out, and I think it'll be a lot of fun, even though they're fictional characters, and I don't know, I get excited about them. Just some parts get confusing because they're fictional characters that I'm deeply involved in the ins and outs of their life, which is weird.
Yeah.
Speaking of fictional characters that all of us are deeply involved in the ins and outs of their life. All right, so Caleb, because of all things COVID, I've permitted myself to have one existential crisis a month.
Okay.
And I decided to have
reasonable.
my December existential crisis in front of 3-year-olds, because here's what happened. If you still believe in Santa, now is the time. The way I would phrase that question, actually, no, too late.
Wow.
Never mind.
That is rough.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think there's people that young listening to our podcast. They're not anymore.
Life comes at you hard. So, see, the way I phrased that just kind of implied the answer. Okay.
Yeah.
So, our church has a preschool attached to it. They needed a Santa Claus. Now, doing Santa Claus during COVID is crazy because there's just things that you can't do. We were trying to keep distance between us and the kids and all this. And just at some point, I just had this existential crisis of like 2020 is the absolute worst. Because I go into the preschool, and these kids are so excited. They are like 3, 4, and 5. They have no idea there's a pandemic trying to kill us all, or any of that, or the politics behind it, or any of these things. And a few of them go like, Santa! Yay, Santa! And I'm like, okay, we're feeling good so far. And then this kid goes, can I go sit on Santa's lap and tell him what I want for Christmas? And we had to stare at this kid and go, no.
Aww.
You can't, little 3-year-old Jimmy. And he's
Jimmy?
like, okay. And look, because the teachers told him no, and I'm like, well, how do you get around this? And it's like, I can air 5 you. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
And so like I air 5 a child in a Santa outfit, and the whole time I'm just thinking, you're human garbage. Like you are human garbage. So then
you're just as bad as the Santa from Elf. That's you.
Yeah.
You smell like beef and cheese.
No, it gets worse. So then I put on a face mask because our plan, it was to read them a story instead of going through everything they want. Like, can you imagine a kid standing 6 feet away saying, I want this for Christmas? And it takes forever.
Yeah.
So I read them a story, but because it's a Christian school, we were trying to like teach them that the important part of Christmas is actually Jesus.
Right.
And so this was the whole, now that I've given all the details, here was my crisis. I am playing a beloved fictional character telling kids to get away from me while wearing a face mask, being unable to breathe while reading a children's story about a real person. And I haven't in any way chipped away at the validity of that story at all. Like that's where I was. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am a fictional person telling them, like, I am lying to a child.
Yeah.
But trying to get them to believe a thing that is true.
Yeah.
How does this work?
That's pretty gross.
Also, I have to crush their hopes and dreams in the process. I'm like, great. Yeah. 2020 is awesome.
That's weird. Yeah. Now, I know this is unrelated, but can you give us what your Santa voice was? Or was it just your normal voice?
No, it's not my normal voice. It's more like, here's the deal. I'm a little bit method in this, in that as I was walking over, I had to like practice it to hear it in my head.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
I'm a little method for Santa. If I'm in the costume, I am Santa Claus. I have to talk as if I'm Santa Claus. Like, sorry, if I can get there.
Where's the Santa costume?
It's in my office. Hold up.
Wow. Okay.
Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is what it is.
Look at you.
But having to read a children's story as Santa Claus that has animal noises added a layer of difficulty to it, because I'm like, all right, how would Santa quack?
Right.
You know, because it was about all the animals. Anyway.
Quirk. Quirk.
Yeah, that one I just gave up. Like, nay! You know, like, you couldn't really do that.
Stoic.
But yeah, no, that I just a real
bummer.
Crisis.
Yeah.
Like a real bummer of being Santa. Like,
yeah. Was that your first time playing Santa ever?
Oh no, we're almost in double digits on that one.
Seriously?
Yeah, I gotta go to the gym. People still, you want to play Santa, right? You're big. I'm like, all right, easy. But yeah, it's kind of fun.
Danny.
You know.
Yeah, that's. I've never been asked to play Santa. Maybe that's what it is.
You.
Oh. Say it.
You could play one of the elves.
Why didn't we dress up as Santa and an elf?
No, I have the costumes.
Why are we just realizing this now?
Next year we're doing this.
Yeah. Next year. I could be one of the elves. You're right. Don't feel bad about it. Just own it. Just own it, Danny.
No, it's just like 2020 is the worst, man.
It is the worst.
Like
we're almost done. Can you believe it?
But we have like no guarantees that 2021 is going to be better. Like, that's the part. Everyone's like, 2021 is going to be so much better. Based on what? Like, I mean,
it's
like,
not.
Trajectory?
To be honest, like, 2020 was bad. I think it'll be better in the sense that the reason 2020 went so poorly in my mind is that it's like the lockdowns.
Yeah.
Like,
we have nothing
sucked.
to do but stay home and think about how bad things are.
Yeah. But, like, as long as we're not in a full lockdown mode again, I think 2021 will be just fine.
Right.
I almost said something bad. But 2021 will be just as bad as every other year of life is, in the sense that life is just life. And I think the reason 2020 emphasized all those things that were just like normal life is just because it was like a trend and a joke to do that. Right. Which it is.
Yeah, I mean, there were good things that happened throughout the year.
Yeah.
And we can talk about those next episode too, like a 2020 recap for...
2020 recap.
Yeah, because our next one will come out on New Year's.
On New Year's?
Yeah. Yeah,
wow.
Christmas and New Year's, 7 days apart.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was
every
that close.
Year.
Wow. It's on a Friday. That's ideal.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
No, but I absolutely do think that's spot on. It was a blend of good and bad, just same as every other year.
Yeah.
And I think if we focus on just the challenging aspects, then yeah, it's going to be challenging. But I don't know. I also had some pretty good things go on through 2020 that we can definitely talk about. But
yeah.
We'll definitely bring those up next episode. So be sure you're tuning in. And we'll have the 2020 recap. We'll call it The Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Yes.
Yes, excellent.
2020.
Which is a Western.
Good, the bad, and the ugly. I like that.
Absolutely. But there is part of the Christmas story, though, that I wanted to talk about just because this episode is coming out on Christmas. And I got to thinking about all the things taught on Christmas, how no one actually agrees on the order of the Advent wreath. No one agrees on that at all. Chandler talked about joy for the fourth week, and I'm like, that's just wrong. Like, joy's third, and the candle is pink. But the more I thought about it, it's like...
That makes sense. Yeah.
But why? Like, why does it have to be the third week?
What is the fourth week in your mind?
Love.
Love?
Yeah. Hope, peace, joy, love.
Hope, peace, joy, love.
Right.
Hope, peace, love, joy is what he did.
He did like
love first.
It was the only rendition of that order I've ever seen. And
that makes sense, though.
There's a lot of orders.
Think about it. I don't even know what I'm going off of here. Nothing.
Yes,
but
we'll go for it.
Love makes sense to come first in my mind.
Until you're building towards a crescendo of Christ, then it would make more sense that you end on love, because the Christ candle comes after love.
Why would the attributes that come from love come before love?
Huh?
Like in my mind, joy, peace, what's the other one?
Hope.
And hope don't come until Christ has come. Not before. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the things that are, what's the right word? That are caused by love can't come before love, right?
You would have to prove those are necessarily caused by love.
I think they are. Do you think that without Christ in our world that we would have peace, joy, or what's the other one?
I think hope. So the way I get what you're saying. Also, it's like the order is, the more I thought about it,
I mean, this doesn't matter.
It's made up anyway. Yeah, like it is made up.
I'm just curious.
It's extra biblical. It's not unbiblical. It's extra biblical. So, I always viewed it as there's a building and a crescendo of coming to the Christ candle, that it does grow into that. That's why it comes in the place it comes. But that because church calendars are a rhythm of drawing people through these different kind of the phases. They're times to work on us in growing closer to Christ. There's times to be in ordinary time. Ordinary time is crazy because it's just, there isn't anything going on in the church calendar at all. It's ordinary. Right. And that's a good time of just Christ in the ordinary. The build towards Christmas Eve, the build towards Easter, all these are flows and expressions of the faith on a broader kind of a macro scale of Christianity.
Right.
With that said, as great as they are, and as much as I actually think they're fantastic, and spent a year matching the color of my shirt to the liturgical color, and only one person caught on to that, I had to get a lot of green, because that's ordinary time, and it's the longest. But they're extra biblical in that they're not mandated by Christ, and then be sure you only talk about this during this time. They're not mandated by Christ. They're not mandated by God.
In fact, like the book that we read, I think it was that book. It was talking about like the one that we promoted, the Christmas You Didn't Expect.
Right.
Like I think he talked about in the beginning that like we were never mandated to even celebrate the birth of Christ.
No, not at all.
Like it's not something that we need to do at all. But it is a good time to take advantage of that and remember that.
Right.
And the importance of it.
Yeah, the bigger, more mandated, to be honest, is Easter.
Yeah.
That one is, well, not even mandated, but like the crescendo of all mankind is in Easter, not in Christmas.
Right. Yeah.
Christmas
is just the beginning.
Yeah. But people do tend to go through the Christmas story though, and they concentrate on kind of the shepherds, the wise men, Mary, Joseph, all these things, and those are important parts. There's another telling of the birth of Christ, well, debatable, that I enjoy because it gets into the other aspect of it. Now, granted, I'm also going to be honest, there is some scholarly debate as to whether or not this passage is actually talking about the birth of Christ and Mary. I think it could be, but
because this is from Revelation.
This is from Revelation. Yeah, it's my favorite telling of the Christmas story because there's a dragon.
Dragon. I've never heard of this.
Revelation
as it being
12.
In the Christmas story. So I'm kind of curious to hear what you mean by this.
All right.
What you mean?
Revelation 12, 1-6. Caleb, give it a read.
Oh, I got to read.
All right, buddy.
And a great sign appeared in heaven. a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant and was crying out in birth pains in the agony of giving birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon, with 7 heads and 10 horns. And on his heads 7 what is that?
Diadems. Jewels.
His tail swept down a third of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she bore her child, he might devour it. She gave birth to a male child, one who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. But her child was caught up to God and to his throne, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, in which she is to be nourished for 1,260 days. Wow.
So,
specific.
Yes.
I've actually never, I've heard you talk about this, but, I've never actually, thought about what this means.
So, there are a few claiming that this is actually talking about the birth of Jesus as best as possible in an apocalyptic dream of John's. I mean, there's a lot of qualifiers in there, but
right.
the part they'll cling to is kind of that the child being born is to rule over the nations, and it's a gift out of God, but that the dragon is there to actually destroy the child, but doesn't actually get the chance to do that. And so there's this kind of spiritual component, spiritual aspect of it, that it is the great dragon that is taking down a third of the stars. This is a clear kind of a understanding of the devil taking down a third of the angels. That's been all throughout a scripture talked about, that through deception and other things he takes down a third of the angels to be demons. And so for those doing the math, it's
a third of the stars. Okay.
There's a 2 to 1 kind of a balance between angel to demon that becomes really important, especially in the final battle. Because it's one angel can hold them, the other one can work the body, and then they switch. 2 to 1's fantastic, but there's a spiritual. Well, all throughout Christmas, we tend to focus on Christ taking on flesh, and that is hugely important. I'm not underselling that at all. It is one of the most important parts of Christmas, right. God came down and took on flesh to be with us, to understand all of our grossness, in order that we can be with him.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's the most important thing, but that's not to be said that I feel like it makes us lose our focus on some of the smaller details that we can also learn stuff from.
Because there's a whole spiritual aspect going on here that I think this part actually gets into a bit more than the Gospels do. That this has been a spiritual battle that has started before the beginning of time, and even after this, it goes on to talk about the Satan being thrown out of heaven to the earth, and it goes through that, and that this is the man that stood against God, getting his butt kicked from start to finish, and although he took people down in the process, he's still going to get his butt kicked, and I think that's there is an aspect that this dragon is trying to destroy the child that is going to be king. This is the enemy is trying to destroy Jesus that will be king, but is unable to do so. And there's a spiritual battle that is taking place that in Jesus is won. The dragon's there waiting to devour a baby as it's being born, and is still unable to actually do that. Now, I imagine that's a pretty kind of a vulnerable kind of state for anyone giving birth. That's not a guarded area. That's a prime time to attack if you're going to.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and is still unable to do the thing he's trying to do. And this kind of brings me back to the angels and appearing to the shepherds. They're appearing to the shepherds in order to celebrate. I mean, they are announcing the birth of Jesus, but there's a massive party. I always got the impression of an angel appears like, shepherds, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Today, Jesus, the Messiah, is born. Which is so not what any of Scripture says at all.
Right. Yeah.
There are heavenly hosts, plural. There's many of them. And they're out in the field because that's where the party is. I mean, like, they're having a party and the shepherds happen to be there for it. And then they all join in a massive chorus together. Now, a chorus of a heavenly host, they're there to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Right. So why do you think they'd be celebrating the birth of Jesus? This doesn't actually concern them. Yeah. I mean, if you kind of think about it, it doesn't... The angel's status at this point, it's fine. They'll be fine. Right. So...
I mean, I think that it's cool because they're all in... It's all in one vision. Like, they know that... I don't know. They're thinking more about just themselves, but the plan of attack, right? And that they know that they've already won, right? And that this is the first step to that, and in being able to see it happen is, I think, amazing.
Yeah. This is the culmination of the thing they have already won, right? Yeah, which is a weird, fun sentence to think through, but I mean, to them, this is the that Jesus is being born isn't that mankind's going to be saved, although that is important, but it's that the evil that came and swiped out a third of them is finished in this, and it is an unstoppable. There isn't anything that can be done. The fact that Jesus is taking on flesh means that God is glorified in all areas. Yep. Yeah. And that's worth celebrating.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you brought up an interesting point that, like, it's not... I think as kids, especially, like, we viewed it as just, like, this one thing that, like, their purpose was just to come say, hey.
Right. Hello.
Yeah. But in reality...
And calmly.
It's both and, you know? Yeah. And it's, like, they're... Yeah, that's probably... That was their point, was to tell them this, but, like... Right. They're freaking excited. Yeah. And, like, that's an important thing, is, like... It's just... I don't know. That even, like, the angels were excited is super cool. Yeah. I mean, the angels are excited. They know they're essentially in the middle of a war. But I mean, this is kind of the same thing. If I'm being, you know, if I'm the owner of a store, this happens in a lot of movies, that I'm an owner of a store and I'm being robbed by two common thugs and Superman shows up. I'm already celebrating even if I'm at gunpoint, because it's like, you can't win. There is no situation where you are able to win here. Yeah. Even if I die, you're still going to lose. Like, there is no opportunity to fail at this point. Right. And it's great. It's kind of that type of a mentality of the devil cannot win. Oh, Christ has took on flesh, and even his best efforts are going to fail. Yep. And because Christ is taking on our flesh to understand and be tempted in every manner as all of us are, and the spiritual problem and difficulty of darkness and sin actually has no chance. There is no chance to be able to come up against a God that is willing to come off the throne, to be in the middle of the battle and just kick butt. I mean, like, just come and kick butt the whole time. Yeah. There is no chance that evil can actually do anything. And I think that's, you know, from a spiritual perspective, that's the part of Christmas that, although the other parts are important, right, we have to talk about the spiritual aspects, is that there is not a realm where at the end of time evil wins. Yeah. And I mean, there isn't any struggle that Christ hasn't conquered. There isn't any difficulty that I face that Christ hasn't understood. It
is by the coming of Jesus Christ, it's already finished.
Yeah. And I think it's easy as Christians, at least for me, to just get caught up in like the everyday of life and to get caught up in like my own sin and the daily struggles of, overcoming that with Christ, that like it's easy to feel like we're still in the battle because we are.
Right.
Like we are.
Right.
But I think that's what's so significant about Christmas through Easter is that like this is the time where we get to truly focus in and remember what the end goal is.
Yeah.
And remember that like Christ coming, whether that's him as a baby or, him being resurrected, like just his life here on earth.
Right.
Is a sign that we've already won. And
right.
I think that's cool that you've like pointed out, because I've never thought about that. Like the angels celebrating, like in this whole excited. Spiritual side, is that like, yeah, like he hasn't even done the work on the cross yet, but they know, like just his life on earth, is signifying that he's already won. And I think that's cool because like, I don't know. I think I've always, like as a kid growing up, viewed Christmas as like him coming in the flesh and really like thinking, oh yeah, that's cool. But like not understanding what that means.
Right.
But it's cool now as an adult to just kind of realize that like, we've already won.
The coming of Christ was essentially a declaration of war, but a war that's already been won.
Yeah.
I mean, I've on the blog I've been going through peace and kind of the conclusions I got to is that there's a massive difference between a peacekeeper and a peace maker. A peacekeeper tries to keep the status quo. Jesus had no intention of keeping the status quo because to be frank, it wasn't all that peaceful to begin with.
Yeah.
It had people after people after people dying because of their sin. Christ was a maker, and the only way to do that is peace is forged in fire. Right. It to be at peace implies that there is a war going on, and Christ bringing peace means that he is coming into a war in order to declare peace.
Yeah.
But I mean, peace isn't the same. I don't go into battle and be like, I declare peace. Like, no.
Yeah.
You make peace.
Right.
Like you swing the sword in the name of peace.
Yeah.
Which feels kind of a weird thing to say, but yeah.
Right.
It's like there will be peace because those that are attempting to kill it will be destroyed.
Right.
Peace is made and forged in fire. It's not kept through a status quo of placation.
Right. Yeah. That's a good representation. I've never really thought like peace in the name of peace. Like you have to be aggressive sometimes. Like that like talking about like the Bible, as the sword, and that like the Bible is this tool that God has given us in order to be further sanctified and to know him more, that we may be at peace with him.
Right.
But in order to do that, there's a lot of things that we have to cut our flesh down. It's painful.
Right.
It hurts.
Right.
And it's a long process.
Yeah. And it's turmoil without it.
But it's in the name of peace.
Yeah.
That like...
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing as people push back on that, but then, okay, a person has cancer. All right, so if I'm just keeping the status quo, then I just give cancer permission to do its thing. And that's no one does that to cancer. Instead, they give a knife to a person and say, stab me and cut it out. Now, in the context of a hospital, you have no problem doing that at all whatsoever, because that person, although they are committing acts of extreme violence, are doing it in the name of health. Kind of the same thing in peace.
Yeah.
A peace in war in its proper context, and I do think that goes back to Ecclesiastes. Sorry, hi mom. Sorry, going back to Ecclesiastes, there's a time for war and a time to have peace. That is indicative of that. That in war, there is a time to do that, but the end goal must be peace and not conquering. Well, even that, Jesus conquered all things, but like, isn't to oppress a people, but to bring them peace.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the give and take of that. And Christ's coming was an aspect of peace that even the angels understood everything going on. And the spiritual attacks, even though they would keep going, ended in peace.
Right.
There's a academic-ish term that nerds talk about called the now, not yet. And it's this part of the promises of God are given, and they will be, but they're given current. We are in those promises and are walking towards them at the same time. This is kind of that thing. God won. It's already done. Yeah. And now we are catching up. Right. And that, I mean, I had a professor who kind of explained it through a quasi crass kind of a metaphor. He said, kind of think of it as being on the drive between the wedding and the honeymoon. Right. Are you married?
Yes.
And no, like no piece of paper can actually say a person is married. You know, like the ceremony is important, absolutely. But it's the coming together of two flesh that, I mean, that's the idea. The commitment is there because they're coming together as two flesh. This is where all of us are. We've had the ceremony, now we're driving to the honeymoon.
Yeah. I love it because it's just like so, like, God is so cool to me just because of like the humble confidence. Yeah. That like, I mean, he's God, and he's the one who he can be as cocky as he wants. You know? I think cocky has a negative context, but like he's already, you know, done all the things and celebrated. Right. And
it's hard to be arrogant if I can do all things.
Right, yeah.
Like, no, I can do it.
Yeah. I think like
how I roll.
In our mind, it could be, I mean, no, it's not arrogant. I don't know what the right word is for it.
Well, all right. To me, arrogance is when my the way I communicate the ability I have is higher than the actual ability. And I mean, there's kind of a sweet spot of I'm communicating in an accurate context the things I can do, and there's no extra pride in it. I think pride is kind of the additive part to arrogance. Yeah. If they're on the sweet spot, it's confidence. It's like, no, I can definitely do that. You know, I had a story. I was going ice skating. I'm actually good at ice skating.
Wow. Yeah. It's a useless skill.
Absolutely it is. But like, you know, I grew up on rollerblades and all kinds of stuff. Right. And
you are a rollerblader.
It was
I can see that.
It was a youth trip, and I was a kind of a volunteer, and everyone made the joke, "Oh, Danny's gonna fall. Danny's gonna fall." And I was like, "No, I'm not gonna fall." Yeah. Like, don't be so arrogant. I'm like, I'm not being arrogant. I'm just not going to fall. That's not arrogance. It's just not going to happen. Sorry. Yeah. Like, I will not fall. And so everyone else fell the whole time. Like, I've done this hundreds of times. This isn't arrogance. I'm just not going to fall. Yeah. And I think the thing that you're talking about is God going like, no, this will happen. This will absolutely happen. Oh, maybe. No, it's going to happen. I'm sorry. Yeah. Most of it's already happened. So like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, and it is just humbling in the way God went about it. Right. In general. I mean, like, not only is, like, he could just snap his fingers and this would all be done. Yeah. Like, but the way that he put part of himself, not God, oh no, I'm being a heretic.
There are not
You know what I'm saying? That Jesus came to earth, fully man, fully God. Right. and he did it in such a loving way to show us love through that,
Right.
and that he made these promises
Right.
to us. Like, it's not just about redeeming his people, it's about redeeming us through love and glorifying himself, that we may worship
Right.
him.
Right.
And I think that that's what's so awesome about it, is that like he is God and he could do it in any other easier way, but he went about it in such a, I don't know. It's just like, it's cool that he would bring himself down to earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
To do that.
And I mean, I'm not trying to kind of diminish anything anybody might be going through, because it is actual stuff and it's hard and difficult and there's a lot going on. But with the birth of Christ and the angels having the massive party and the dragon actually failing to do anything, even though it took out a third of the angels, we have to be cautious in the manner we approach our spiritual battles as a massive, we tend to pitch it as this, it's a head-to-head between Jesus and Satan.
Right.
And there isn't a world where that battle goes on longer than 3 minutes, or
3 seconds.
Like 3 seconds. The book of Revelation actually ends in a very anticlimactic way, because they build to this thing where like it's turmoil, trouble, conflict. Christ appears, and then it's done. It's just over.
Right.
Like this isn't a Jesus and the devil head to head, you know, because there isn't the only reason they are able to do anything is because God has permitted them to do it in order that others could still come to know him more. When the time comes, that will be over. When that part is done, that part will be done. And so our personal spiritual battles, we absolutely need to battle against all of the sin, all the darkness, all that, but approach it in a manner of understanding that you in Christ cannot fail.
Right.
It may not be an overnight change. I may not have this, I'm going to battle this and I'll be done by the end of the day. It's like, no, that may not actually be how it happens, but I can't approach it as if the outcome isn't actually decided.
Right.
In Christ, the outcome is already decided.
Yeah.
And the angels have already started the party.
Yeah, and I think the truth of that sinks in when I'm truly focusing on God. I think that it's easy for us to say oh no, and I don't want, like I said, I'm not trying to discount anything that anyone's going through, because life is
real.
hard.
Yeah, because it's real and life is hard. Absolutely.
But I find for myself that if I'm not focusing on Christ, then everything falls to pieces. Yeah, because it's truly a mindset of am I we can only focus on one thing at a time. I believe that. There's what is it? The horizontal and vertical. And everything lines up horizontally when we look to God vertically. Yeah. And I think that when you focus on God and when you are reminded of the gospel and that we are more than conquerors in Christ, that I think that my life in my mind, I see its purpose. Right. And I see that it's not about me. Right. And that makes I don't know. It makes fighting sin easier. Yeah. And like you said, it's going to take time. It's not going to be not difficult. Right. It's going to be hard. Right. But I think that if you're truly focusing on Christ, 10 years in the future, you're going to look behind you and see some sort of change.
And even if not, because people still struggle through things they've been struggling through for over a decade. In the end, you in Christ have been made pure. Right. There's the whole point of progressive sanctification is based on the fact that in a standing aspect, that's already been done.
Right.
You are declared innocent and declared a child of God, whereas those two things were not true previous. Those the issue of standing has already been made, and now we are working towards that kind of the sanctification. But the sanctification doesn't actually change our standing. Our amount of sanctification doesn't disqualify a person on being a child of God.
Yeah.
Actually, it is a byproduct of it.
Right.
And so those two things, the standings and the sanctification, those are, it's not that they're unconnected, but the sanctification is possible because of the other part being in stone.
Right.
I am a child of God, even if I screw it up. And so as I'm battling through these things, I have to come at it understanding that there isn't a chance that this battle is going to lose.
Right. Exactly.
And that when I am in Christ, I have all that I need because it's Christ that does this. Kind of going back to the kind of the Superman coming into the convenience store being robbed.
Right.
The one thing I don't do if I'm the store clerk is try and go for the gun after Superman's there.
Right.
Like it's like, why? No, he got it.
Yeah.
All I have to do is give him an opportunity to do it and I'll be fine.
Right.
I don't do it on my own strength. It is Christ that does it on my behalf.
Right. Yeah. I think that's huge because it's easy to just think that we're the ones that have to get rid of our sin. And and I think, but I twist it in this Christian way myself, where it's like, oh, like, no, it's God doing it through me, even though it's really just me trying to like handle it.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I know God will give me the strength to do it, when in reality I'm just like not trusting him at all.
Right.
And I think that, like truly understanding that no, God is the one that does this. Sanctification is an honor that we even get to be a part of that.
Right.
And it's all him. And the moment you think that you're a part of that in any bit is not good.
Wage war on sin, but do it in the understanding that it is Christ who's already completed it anyway.
Right.
So absolutely
a reason to be thankful.
Yeah. And so the birth of Jesus Christ is the inaugural, or kind of the start of, it's not even the start because Christ slain before the foundations of the earth. I mean, it's just it's the understanding that as God takes on flesh, there isn't a place where the enemy is safe.
Yeah.
As they flung him to earth, it's not that God stopped being there, but then, as they flung the devil and all the demons after him to earth, it is Jesus who came down and did the superhero landing and said, like, we ain't done yet. Like, let's go, baby.
Yeah.
And which is kind of a dope way to think about it.
And I think a challenge for myself and for you guys too is like, I think what is like a way that we can truly, whether it's through reading the Bible, praying, maybe even fasting. I know some people fast during this time of year. But like, what is a way that we can truly focus in on God and understand and realize that like what he has done in this time, from his birth that we're celebrating to Easter and his resurrection, that like he has already won, and just try and like rest in that and focus on that and truly just let that change you.
Absolutely. Well, that is a fantastic question, and we want to hear from you. If there's answers to that question, give us some time to think about it, and please, contact us and go through it together. We enjoy getting all kinds of emails, messages, and everything else. The best way, or there are a few good ways, some are better than others, of contacting us. One of them is to go to our website at thegospeloutpost.com/nobodyspecial.
Yep.
Form at the bottom of the page. Do the form things, and we will likely get it. If they
90% chance.
90% chance. If you're trying to get that 100% chance, Caleb, where else can they go?
You can find us at Nobody Special Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And if you comment on any of our stuff, DM us there. We will see that. Also, you can just follow us there if you want to be up to date on when we release our episodes on whether that's a podcast program or YouTube. Also, YouTube, you can find us at The Gospel Outpost. I think The Gospel Outpost on YouTube. Or you just search Nobody Special and you should find it. And if you comment there, they might not.
They might not. Search for The Gospel Outpost. We'll come up.
Yeah.
We're working on that. As we systematically destroy a larger channel. Like, ooh.
Yeah.
Oof, that feels bad. Anyway, SEO war has begun. Let's go.
I think they have like referenced us. You remember that? So there's this other channel.
We are not big enough to have been referenced by them.
No, do you remember? I'm dead serious. At least I watched this. I don't know if I ever showed it to you, but it was like during COVID, and their channel was kind of being threatened by some new YouTube law stuff that was going on.
Oh yeah.
But me and Danny always go, he's Danny and I'm Caleb and we are Nobody Special. But they did it at the beginning of their episode. It's two of them and they go say their names and they go, we are Nobody Special. And it was like this very sassy. I was like, that's very...
We have nothing against them, by the way.
No, we don't. Yeah, they're great.
We don't even know them. We're vastly different audiences.
I just thought it was funny. I don't think that was directly towards us, but it very much seemed like it could have been.
It could have been. It was probably... I don't know. I don't think they've seen us.
Who knows?
But
yeah, if you comment on our stuff there, we'll see your questions.
Absolutely. Actually, and man, if you're that other channel, dude, let's just send us an email. I want to know what you guys do. I don't know. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
We're vastly different audiences, but maybe we can get some together. So, that'd be the weirdest crossover ever. Anyway. Well, so Caleb, I think that is going to do it all for us today. So Merry Christmas. I'm Danny.
And I'm Caleb.
And we are Nobody Special.